Hello everyone, this is Richard Svensson, the lone animator from Sweden. I just wanted to make a little video about the effects for my short video, the Lovecraft Alphabet. And hopefully you can find some useful tips and tricks and be inspired to come up with some crazy stuff yourself. Okay, so this is the Azathoth clip, which is built up with many layers in After Effects, starting with this layer, the background layer, which is a computer animated clip I bought from a stock footage site. I can't remember which one at the moment, but there are several out there. To begin with, I animated this tentacle, which I built for another project. Then I duplicated it in After Effects, and that allowed me to add several layers of wisping tentacles looking like this. Then this cosmic monstrosity needed a body, which I built up flat using pieces of cotton and latex. Here's how that looks when it's finished and painted. I just took a photograph of it and cut it out in Photoshop and put it against a transparent background. You see those glowing red eyes? They are in fact small beads with flat backs that are used in scrapbooking, and they reflect light really well, so I used them quite a lot for creepy puppet eyes. So I had the tentacles, but I still wanted some organic motion which could be created quickly and look effective, so I built a simple Muppet using thin urethane foam sheets covered with latex and cotton. I stuck this through a piece of cardboard painted with chroma key paint and wiggled it around with my hand in front of my camera. And then I simply duplicated this shot of a nasty looking mouth. So here's the finished clip. And if you look at this After Effects window, you can see that the shot consists of quite a few layers. You really can't make a Lovecraft Alphabet without Cthulhu, can you? I've been wanting to build an animated Cthulhu puppet for a long time. Now, this particular puppet for this particular project is very basic, built quickly and cheaply, and it has all the features that are expected to be seen on Cthulhu. But I hope I will be able to come up with a project eventually where I can build a more complex puppet. I always start with sculpting certain parts of my puppets in clay, in this case the head, and I then make a plaster mold from this sculpture, and then I cast a hollow latex skin. The tentacles, and I do make a lot of tentacles because I make quite a few Lovecraft films, which goes with the territory. The tentacles are made out of aluminum wire, wrapped in soft string, and then covered with liquid latex. The body is an armature made out of aluminum wire. The bony parts, the parts that are not supposed to be bendy, are covered with friendly plastic, thermoplastic, which is very pliable and easy to use. I haven't addressed the question of how to build bat-like or pterodactyl-like wings for puppets yet, and I do get asked about this quite a lot, but I probably should make a proper video about it. However, for now, here's a brief run-through. I make a wing armature out of aluminum wire, which is again covered with soft string and latex. Then I mix some cheap hobby plaster, and I submerge the wing armature about halfway into the plaster. When the plaster has set up, in the areas between the fingers, so to speak, where the wing membranes will be in the wing, I can etch in details like warts and wrinkles and veins. And then I cover both the wing membrane areas of the plaster as well as the wing armature with tinted latex. And when the latex has set up, I simply pull out the entire finished wing and attach it to the back of the puppet armature. When this is done, I can start the build-up of the muscles of the puppet, which are just small pieces of soft urethane foam. Sometimes I make harder, more sinewy muscles that are more defined by dipping cotton into latex. So here's the finished puppet. again you have those beady little glowy eyes, scrapbooking eyes. And here is Cthulhu walking across my animation stage. And as you can see, I'm not the most expert animator in the world, but I think he's got a certain panache in his stride. The background is another stock footage clip, and as you can see, there are small splashes of white foam when the waves break against Cthulhu's legs. These are, in actual fact, magnesium explosions with lots of sparks flying everywhere. I bought and downloaded these from detonationfilms.com, which, if you haven't already discovered them, please go there and have a look. They have lots and lots of pyrotechnical stock footage. Most of it is actually free. And in After Effects, I have inserted these explosions in a separate layer. I changed the transparency setting in After Effects to screen, which turns all black areas or dark areas transparent. This video clip was much easier to make. I simply made a puppet head and neck and animated that. Then I made a body in Photoshop using photos of crustaceans and bugs. The wings came from another project, a short film I did called Night Gaunts. The arms also came from the Night Gaunt puppet. Background is another stock footage clip. Here's my friend Andreas having his brain stolen by a Migo. The Migo puppet was constructed just like the other puppets. The head gave me a little bit to think about though. Lovecraft describes the heads of the Migos as a convoluted ellipsoid covered with fleshy pyramids and a multitude of very short antennae. I created a small pyramid-shaped tool and simply pressed this many times into an egg-shaped piece of clay. I then covered this with latex and cotton, and when the latex had dried, I peeled it off like a banana skin and turned it inside out, thereby creating exactly the look I was going for. The multitude of little antennae were simply pieces of yarn dipped in latex. Andreas was filmed in front of one of my chroma key screens, and I cut out his head in After Effects and pasted it onto this background, which is made up from a photograph of a piece of old wallpaper and an old photograph of a relative of mine. I created a 2D animation in After Effects by splitting Andreas' head up in two layers, a top layer for the top of his head and a bottom layer for the static lower part of his head. The Wilbur Whateley shot was simply me dressed in an old overcoat in front of a green screen and having another piece of green screen cloth tucked into my shirt. So when I opened up the overcoat, there was simply nothing inside me but the color green, which I of course could then key out to put something else in. This something else was a piece of animation, having a bundle of tentacles with some fake fur around them. Tucked inside this coat was also a photoshopped 2D image of some fur mixed with octopus tentacle suckers. The background is a simple photograph, and Wilbur's head is also a photograph. It's actually the head of a fairly well-known actor transformed or malformed, if you will, in Photoshop and animated slightly in 2D in After Effects to have him smile. All the other scenes in this film are basically made the very same way as the clips I have shown you now. The puppets are made with fairly simple and cheap materials. I have a bunch of other videos on my channel which will show exactly how I build one of my stop motion puppets. And as you can see, using layers in 2D animation to spice up your scenes is a fairly simple process. It's not ideal for everything. For example, if you wish to make your own Ray Harryhausen style adventure epic, where the monsters are just as much characters as the actors and they are interacting with your actors in many ways and in many scenes, then creating your monsters out of pieces of photographs and pieces of animated limbs, that's not really a good idea. But if you're making a film where you're just going to show a monster for a few seconds, then you might not want to spend money and above all the time it takes to build a very complicated puppet. You can create your monster in this way, quick, cheap, and actually more effectively than had you built a complicated puppet. You can animate a piece of it, duplicate that piece as many times as you want in After Effects, and make something that comes crawling out of the darkness, wiggling and screaming at your audience. So I hope you have found something inspiring and useful in what I have been showing you. So now it's your turn to make movies out of your dreams and nightmares, and I hope to see your stuff around here very soon. Thanks for watching.